Hey everyone, my name is Sean Arnold and welcome to the first episode of a new little sub-series I'm going to try on the channel called Yugioh Lore Duels. This is an idea which I got actually about a year ago after noticing that there was a lot of brand new archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of archetypes which I really wasn't familiar with, and that is because these archetypes have come from sources outside of the anime and the manga. I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's something which I really love about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that for some of the cards in this game, there's lore hidden within the pictures. One of my favourite monsters in this game is Yugioh, and you will notice that this monster appears quite a lot in different pictures, and when you piece them together you can actually start to kind of work out a story. This kind of approach really reminds me of what Dark Souls does well, where there's a lot of lore hidden in the items of the game. And I kind of wanted to take some time to kind of explore these narratives and read some of the stories out to other people and see if other people find it to be interesting. In this duel, as you can see, I am using a Gem Knight deck, and I'm playing against someone who is playing as an Oro Mage player. Oro Mages are really fun. I have to look at those in the future. They are a really cool deck which gets benefits off of gaining life points and changing life points. A really cool archetype, but today I'm focusing on Gem Knights. I wanted to build this deck a while ago because I was inspired to make a deck after the series Steven Universe. Steven Universe is a really fun cartoon. I'm not going to be good at selling it, but it is amazing. It's really fun to watch, and it is the only Western style animated series that I really watch anymore. And I wanted to make a deck inspired by that last year. However, the Gem Knights, who are an obvious fit for Steven Universe because they share similar names of gemstones, didn't really have all their best cards at the time, but thankfully with the new winter update we've got most of their better cards, and now they're actually playable. And so I thought this is a good time to kind of look at Gem Knights, look at what they can do both as a deck but also what their hidden lore is, and kind of read that out. So this lore is what I'm getting from Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia. It is the lore taken from Duel Terminal. The Duel Terminal is an arcade-based version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Which has its own little sub-storylines in it, and I thought I would read out what the Gem Knights are about today and we can learn a little bit about that. So, here's the story of the Gem Knights. They are a group of warriors endowed with the power of minerals. The Gem Knights value honour above all else and disapprove of battle for the sake of battle. However, at the provocation of the barbaric Laval, however, they are forced to take up arms and protect the clans from their wanton destruction. However, the Steelswarm begin to invade the surface land, intending to take over. The Gem Knights join up with other clans in a temporary union spearheaded by the Vylons. Along the way, they obtain new powers with which to resist the Steelswarm. Although the Steelswarm are quickly dispatched, the conflict is far from over. The Vylons decide to exterminate the clans in order to prevent future wars. So, I get the sense that there is this kind of world out there where these are actual monsters that actually live in this world, kind of like season 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, I guess, but much more interesting. It seems like the Gem Knights, they're very much an honourable clan. They fight to protect others. They don't really encourage battle, but sometimes they have to go and step in if necessary. And it sounds like there are a variety of different clans, such as Lavals and the Vylons, but then a bigger threat came in the form of the Steelswarms, and the Steelswarms try to take over. So I'm going to read a bit more about what else there is here. The clans once more band together in order to halt the Vylons, so the Vylons decided to turn against everyone and think to themselves, we'll get rid of all the clans and that way there will not be any more war, maybe, kind of thing. When we look at the Vylons, I guess we'll find out a bit more. But it is the collaboration between the Gem Knights and the Gishki to whom credit for their eventual victory goes. Okay, so the Gishki are involved in this as well. Gem Knight Pearl is the downfall of the Vylon. After the Vylons are driven back, the alliances between clans once again dissolve. So it looks like they formed up twice to fight a bigger evil or bigger threat. The Gishki immediately resumed their invasion of Mist Valley, which had been their main objective pre-Steelswarm. In order to obtain resources from the valley, the Gishki enact a genocide on the Gusto. Wow. The Gem Knights intervene to rescue the remaining Gusto. Okay, so, wow, just constant battles, and the Gem Knights are doing whatever they can, but it looks like whoever they form an alliance with really has their own agenda and keeps them going back and forth between doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing. When the Steelswarm virus begins to spread across the dual terminal world, the Gem Knights join the Gusto in a prayer for the Constellar, a legendary band of divine warriors to aid them. The Constellar may not be strong enough to resist the Iceworm army alone, as the Gishki clan falls to the virus. Knowing this, the Gem Knights fuse into the most powerful Gem Knight, and that is Master Diamond. So it's that's the story of the Gem Knights. It's a cool little story, and to kind of know this about them makes me a bit more attracted and find them a bit more appealing. It's nice to know that they're so honourable. And one thing which I really like about the design of the Gem Knights is that they strongly seem to be influenced based on two previous heroes, Jade and Yuki from GX and Jesse Anderson from GX. It seems to be kind of a mix between the Crystal Beast and the Elemental Heroes, and as you kind of guessed from the natural story of it, this is an archetype which is really based around fusion summoning. Now, one reason why Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was one of my favourite series is because it looked at the game and it took one element of the game, which was fusion summoning and how the extra deck worked at the time, and it tried to make it better. I can't necessarily say it was successful. Fusion monsters, even while GX was around, fusion monsters were fun, but they didn't necessarily become like a competitive deck, and they weren't really too viable because fusion summoning in the way it works is very, very expensive. You normally had to use polymerization as one card, then at least two material monsters to bring them together to make one bigger monster, and the effect that you would get out of their monster wouldn't necessarily be worth the cost of losing 3 cards to gain 1, so it didn't normally work out. But one thing which I really like about the Gem Knight archetype is that it seems to kind of fix this without kind of throwing away the whole idea of fusion summoning. And it's also kind of one reason why I wasn't too much of a fan of Synchro's NXZ monsters. I've always felt like Synchro monsters and NXZ monsters were just better fusion monsters, and I rather prefer an archetype which kind of overcomes the weaknesses of a bad mechanic as opposed to just replacing the mechanic in total. But that's not to say I'm against XZs and Synchros particularly. I like the idea of making mechanics work when they were once weak as opposed to just replacing it altogether. But so let's get into some of the gameplay for this match so far. So far, it's been a bit of a slow game, and I do have to apologise for the quality of the game here. This is my very, very first duel playing Gem Knights, so I make a lot of mistakes in this game here, but I kind of like doing that sometimes. I kind of like just taking a deck that I just don't know, say I'll just take a good build of it, and I'll just work it out as I go along. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. So we're going into the battle phase here, and I'm going to attack with Gem Knight Amber, which is one of their Gemini monsters. The effect of the Amber isn't really too special. I think it has an effect which you can recover monsters from the banished pile, but right now I'm not using that. And he's going to attack directly. Beautiful Sloth is going to activate Human Wins, and that is if your life points is lower than your opponent's, you gain 500 life points. Like I said earlier, Aromages are all about recovering life points, and as you're going to see in this duel, he is really, really good at maintaining his life points and keeping his LP quite high. So he now summons out Aromage, I couldn't see the name of that, King Gaga or something like that, and now he gains another 500 life points, and that's going to trigger his monster's effect. And now I'm going to respond to that with another really good card in the current meta, and that is Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike is such a good card. For 1500 life points, you can negate a special summon or a monster's effect. Very, very versatile. I think I'm using 3 copies of that and Solemn Warning in this build, so it's really, really good. The deck build which I'm using here today is not my own build. It is a build which I got from a Reddit user who made a very, very good guide on explaining how the different Gem Knights work and how many cards you should run in your deck. I will put a link to that Reddit post in the description of this video. If you guys want to play Gem Knights yourself, it is a really, really good just breakdown video of every single card. It explains why it's good and why it's not so good. And one thing which is remarkable about Gem Knights is that they have 6 different versions of polymerization. 6 different versions. That is insane. But not all of them are as good as each other, and I think I only end up using 2 of them in this build, and that Reddit thread explains why. So Beautiful Stuff here plays Pot of Duality. He flips over 3 cards, or excavates 3 cards, and one of them is Poison of the Old Man. That is a really old card. MST and Lone Fire Blossom. If I was him, I'd go for Lone Fire Blossom. Lone Fire Blossom is a really strong card, but he decides to go for MST. I guess he must have a pretty good hand otherwise. So let's see what happens when he tries to destroy my back row. He's going to destroy my face down card, and am I going to be able to chain with it? Nope. I'm going to lose my card, DDR, Different Dimension Reincarnation. The Gem Knights are all about recovering from the graveyard and the banish pile, and DDR is actually a good recovery card for this build. Now I just drew into one of their fusion cards, Gem Knight Fusion, and it is a cool little card, but I can't really use it right now, so I'm just going to put it down on the field, and I'm going to go into the battle phase and attack my opponent's face down monster. As you can see, both parties here are low on resources. However, I've got a couple of tricks up my sleeve which kind of helps me get around that. I attack into a Romage Jasmine, which has 1900 defense. That's not going to go anywhere for a little while. And we're going to go over to Beautiful Sloth's turn here. This archetype is really fun, and I may practice with this deck a bit more in the future. I would love to get to really know the Gem Knight archetype. It's really quite fun to use, but we'll see. If you want to see more of the Gem Knights, do let me know in the video, in the comments down below. Or if you want to see me just do another archetype, I will do that too. If I do play this more, I'll probably put it in the online ranked series and keep this separate from the lore series. But we'll see how it goes. I'll play it by ear from now on. So now I'm going to do a fusion summon using Gem Knight Fusion. I'm going to get rid of Amber and Gem Knight Gem Lapis. Yeah, it's a Gem Knight Lapis. And we're going to summon out Gem Knight Prismora. Gem Knight Prismora has 2450 attack, is level 7, and now I'm going to be able to activate Gem Knight Lazuli's effect, which when it is sent to the graveyard by an effect, it allows me to recover 1 Gem Knight monster from my graveyard and add it to my hand other than itself. So now I'm going to bring back Gem Knight Garnet from my graveyard to my hand. And now while it is in my graveyard, I'm going to activate the effect, or the second effect, of Gem Knight Fusion. Gem Knight Fusion allows me to banish one of my Gem Knights from my graveyard to add it back from my graveyard to my hand. So I'm going to banish, let's think, which is the best one to kind of banish. I wasn't really sure about this at the time because obviously it was my first time playing this deck, but I decided that I will get rid of Lazuli because it has an effect set from the hand to the graveyard as opposed to being able to recover itself. And so I thought I'll go for that, but if that's not the best card to banish, do let me know. So now in this situation, I'm going to activate Prismora's effect by discarding Gem Knight Fusion, and by doing so I can destroy my opponent's trap card. And then I can get to use Gem Knight Fusion's effect one more time, and I can banish another copy of a card, and I'm going to get rid of Obsidian and then add it to my hand again. As you can see, this is a really cool way of just kind of recovering that cost that you are spending on these cards here. And I don't want to abuse it too much, so I'm going to attack these monsters, but it's a really great way to kind of cover the cost of Prismora and be able to destroy face-up cards on the field. So Prismora destroys my opponent's Romage Jasmine, and now we attack into a face-down copy of Fossil Diner Pachipalo. And, or that's probably not how you say it, but I'm saying that's the way I like to say it. Pachipalo manages to destroy when it's flipped face up all special summon monsters on the field, and so now I set down Gem Knight Fusion because I'm not worried if it's destroyed too much. If my opponent decides to use MST on it, I can get another copy of it back by banishing monsters from the graveyard. So over to Beautiful Sloth's turn here. I'm going to set down another face down card, and now he sets down a monster too, and now it goes over to my turn here. And let's draw into another card, and we get a copy of Gem Knight Garnet. 2 copies of Garnet doesn't really help me in this situation. I'm not going to fusion summon with them. Like I said, I want to play it really safe. The one thing which I worry about with playing a fusion deck is overextending. You don't want to spend all your cards and make a big fusion monster, and then have to run into a bad card which will just get rid of it quite easily. So I summon out Gem Knight Garnet, and I think to myself, what am I going to do? I could use my fusion card to bring out a big monster, but instead I'm going to go for an XE summon, and I'm going to use both Garnets as material to bring out Digustal Emerald. Diagaster Emerald is an old fan favourite. I'm sure some of you have seen it before, but its effect, it has two effects, and both of them can actually be used. Often you don't get to see people using both effects, but because we have normal monsters in this deck, we could actually potentially use both of them. I detach one garnet from my my monster to the graveyard, and then I get to recycle 3 monsters from my graveyard back into their decks, and then I get to draw 1 card. So I'm going to use the extra deck monsters because that's really not going to hurt me at all to put those back in my extra deck, and I could use those again in the future. And then I'm going to shuffle 1 copy of Lazuli, because Lazuli gives me more cards when it's sent to the graveyard, so that always works out well for me. Then I draw into a copy of Upstart Goblin. I had to catch myself here. I forgot that Upstart Goblin gives life points, and therefore I trigger Jasmine's effect, and I'm not quite sure what that's going to do, but then my opponent goes and activates Dried Winds. This could be a really bad play on my hand. Again, I completely forgot that I'm playing against a deck that benefits from life points, and it manages to destroy my Diagaster Emerald, which really sucks. So now my opponent plays another really cool card. That's Magic Planter. That allows him to send 1 face-up continuous track card from the field to the graveyard to draw 2 more cards. Then he plays Pot of Duality to excavate the following 3 cards. We've got Mind Drain, Aromage Rosemary, and Aroma Jar. I am not familiar with what those monsters do. Mind Drain, I believe, stops hand traps. So let's see what they go for. He goes for the jar. Like I said, I don't know what it does, but we'll find out very shortly, I'm sure. So he sets 1 monster face down on the field, and I've really got to kind of make something work here. Losing Diagaster Emerald really sucks. I really wanted to get the whole effect out of that for both materials, but now I draw into another cool card, and that's called Crystal Rose. Crystal Rose is a really interesting effect. You get to send 1 gem card from your Gem Knight or Melodious monster from your hand or your deck to the graveyard, and then it takes the name of that monster. It's kind of like a what's that card that really mills quite well? Mathematician. It's kind of like Mathematician but for Gem Knights, and it's a really good way just to mill monsters, and it changes its name based upon it. Unfortunately, my opponent responds with Fiendish Chain, so he's going to negate Crystal Rose, and so there's not really a whole lot I can do with that there. However, I can activate Gem Knight Fusion, so I'm going to be able to use the monster anyway, and I have 2 options of either going for Seraph Knight or for the big beat stick, and I forgot that character's name. So off goes Obsidian, off goes Crystal Rose, and we get out Zirconia. Zirconia is a big, huge monster. He has 2900 attack, and it has no special effects, but it is just a big monster that can punch really hard. Thankfully, Obsidian also has an effect here, which allows me to take 1 monster from my graveyard, and I believe I get to special summon it. I can't quite remember, we'll find out very shortly. Yes, I do. I get to special summon it from the graveyard to the field, which is a nice way of just compensating for that cost. And of course, like I did earlier, if I wanted to, I could get rid of a monster from my graveyard and recover Gem Knight Fusion from my graveyard to my hand. We finally attack into Aroma Jar, and we find out that Aroma Jar has an effect where if it is flip face up, it cannot be destroyed by battle while it is on the field. It also has a secondary effect that during each end phase, my opponent gets to gain 500 life points, triggering more of those life point effects for him or her. That could be a real problem. I don't necessarily know if I had the removal to get rid of Aroma Jar, so I have to find out, and my opponent has already gained 1000 life points, but we'll have to see what we draw into. So we get into a copy of DDR, Different Dimension Reincarnation. Can't really use it right now because I don't have anything to discard to pay for its cost. So I end my turn straight away, and Aroma Jar recovers more life points for Beautiful Sloth. Really cool archetype. I really like the fact that they made a deck around life points. Recovering life points in this game isn't really viable often. It's something which not a lot of people care about because your life points is just an extra currency. You use it to take hits for a turn, and as long as you don't die, there's no real reason to recover extra life points. It's normally better just to get more card advantage than it is life point advantage. But this really kind of combines both of them really quite well, and it's kind of cool. I actually really like it. So in my turn here again, I have a look at my banish pile. I've got 2 cards in there because now I have a monster which I could potentially discard for different dimension reincarnation, but instead I'm going to activate Gemlight Fusion. I'm going to get rid of a card here. At this point I start to think to myself, maybe it's best to get rid of cards that are cards like Obsidian and Amber to the banish pile, because I can maybe special summon them later on. I'm not really too sure what the best target is to banish for these effects here, but we'll see how it goes. And now I play different dimension reincarnation, and I use Gemlight Fusion to pay for the discard cost there. And now I'm going to activate Amber's effect, which allows me to normal summon it, and I will now get its Gemini effect. So then I send another copy of a Gemlight from my deck, from my hand to the graveyard, to recover one that's in my graveyard, and I think I get to add it back to my hand. Sorry, it's not in my graveyard, it's in my banish pile. So I get Obsidian to be added to my hand, and now I'm going to recover Gemlight Fusion. Gemlight Fusion is going to allow me to banish one of my monsters from the graveyard to recover it from my graveyard to my hand. And let's see if we can go for another fusion summon. Lots and lots of different options here. Like I said, I'm not really necessarily sure what the best monster is, but I'll go for Prismora because that can destroy face-up cards, and that is going to give me a way to destroy Aroma Jar. So we go for Prismora again. I just need a card to be able to discard to pay for its cost, so we'll see if we can get a card to do that. First though, Obsidian is going to activate, which will allow me to special summon a monster from my graveyard to the field. And the question is what to go for. We're gonna go for Amber. Amber's got nice defense. We can go for Amber. He can get me 3 cards from the, not 3 cards, but he can get me cards from the banish pile later on. Maybe I should have gone from a different one, but we'll see how it goes. And then Gemlight Fusion is going to activate, and I'm going to get rid of Obsidian, send it to the banish pile, and recover that to the hand. My apologies for this game being a little bit longer than normal. I don't normally like my duels to be this long, but it is just the way it worked out. Hopefully people still enjoy it in this kind of format. I do try to make them as short as possible, but it is what it is. Aroma Mages like to gain life points, you know, they take a while. Especially when you have cards like Drowning Mirror Force at your disposal. Drowning Mirror Force is a really awesome variant of Mirror Force. It shuffles any monster which attacks directly back into their deck. It's a really great way to get around destruction, activate effects, and can be really quite threatening. It's very good in this environment when the opponent's very easy to clear your field. All you got to be aware of is that if you have monsters on the field, you can't use it, so sometimes it can kind of clash. In that situation, I would use Storming Mirror Force over Drowning Mirror Force, but both are really good. My opponent plays Lone-Fire Blossom and brings out a big beat stick, Romage Bergamot, I believe, and that gains piercing damage, which really sucks for me. As you can see, I've got no cards to work with right now, which is really unfortunate. Fortunately, I top deck into a Gem Armadillo, which is a really cool card. It is a Stratos for this deck, and we're going to activate that effect right away to go and grab a Gem-like monster from my deck to my hand. So I'm thinking to myself, I could go for Obsidian, I could go for Lazuli, I could go for Amber. We're going to go for Obsidian because of his nice effect. And then we're going to go and get back Gemlight Fusion, banish one of the monsters in the graveyard, get rid of Amber in this case, and bring back that card from my graveyard to my hand. And then let's go for a fusion summon. Let's get rid of Armadillo and get rid of Obsidian and go for Zirconia one more time. Zirconia being the big beat stick that he is. I wonder if Zirconia counts as a normal monster. I wonder if I could revive a monster like this with Digustal Emerald. I'm not sure. I think maybe yes. I think maybe you could recover it with Digustal Emerald, but it's a really cool card regardless. Now Obsidian is going to activate, and we're going to get Gemlight Garnet back to the field as a big beat stick. And just in with that one card of Gemlight Armadillo, we've been able to recover 2 resources, including 2 big monsters. Really fun deck, really enjoyable to play. I really would like to test this out more and see what else we can do here with this archetype, because it's really fun. I like it more than Elemental Heroes, to be honest with you. I like it more because I feel like Elemental heroes have really kind of fixed towards the masked hero archetype. You don't really see anyone playing E heroes anymore. This is kind of like better E heroes. And there goes to surrender by Beautiful Sloth. Good game to you, Beautiful Sloth. Thank you very much for playing me. And thank you very much to you guys for tuning into the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore Duels. Please give me some feedback on what you think about it and whether you are going to enjoy the series. If not, I'll just do episodes like I normally do. But if you did enjoy it, then let me know what archetype you might want to see next. I'm going to either go for one of the following. Let me go get the list. Who is in the story? We could go for Lavals. We could go for Steelswarms. I'll say Steelswarms and Vylons. I would like to go for Lavals or Gishkis because those are the two archetypes that team up with them. So thank you very much for tuning into this video, guys. I will see you soon. Take care.